Welcome to What Builders Don't Tell Their Clients with your host, Joel Miner. Listening to the show, you'll learn how to avoid the unnecessary pain and avoidable costs that commonly occur in the building and renovating process. Joel will also inspire you with his knowledge, experience, and ideas on how to make your home a place to suit your lifestyle for years to come.
Hey, and welcome to week 3 in the mini-series of What Builders Don't Tell Their Clients. I'm back with Andrew Quadrio again, Quadrio Building Services. So this week, we're going to break into the budget. I've been doing a few podcasts about this lately too, so you probably might feel like I'm rambling on, but this is definitely a massive part of coming to planning your renovation. This is up there with probably not the most important, but it's up there with being very close to the most important thing to think about when you're considering doing a renovation, because this particular subject can alter how you want to do your renovation. It can conflict with the purpose and what you're trying to do with your renovation also. So we've talked about the must-haves, the needs and the wants, and the brainstorming and the dream list last week. And obviously the week before that was the purpose. So this here can play a big part on them two things. If you haven't sort of had a good consideration on how much you're comfortable spending. And I think there's a really bad mindset around this with a lot of people always asking, we don't know how much this is going to cost and how much we don't know how much it's going to cost, but this is what I have, this is what I want and I want to spend. I don't know, what's it going to cost, rather than ask themselves, what is your, what are you comfortable with spending? And there's two budgets, and I'm sure you'll have this conversation with a lot of your clients with the budget thing, and people sort of look at you funny with, why is there two budgets?
That's how I introduce it to my clients when we sit down is there's two budgets. Let's talk about budget. There's two. There's one. The first budget is the number you're comfortable spending, and then the second budget is the end of the road budget, where you're stretched, or a stretched budget. So you're stretched to the point where you think, oh, that's a little bit scary. I'm not 100% sure that we can afford it, but it's not over that, because we certainly don't want to push you past the point where you can't afford your repayments, and then you can't use the space that you've just created. So what's the point in that? So we tell people that your stretch budget should be a little bit uneasy. It should make you a little bit uneasy, but it shouldn't push you to the point where you can't afford it, or you've got to strip back things in your other parts of your life to afford it, sort of thing. But and the reason why we talk about there being a comfortable budget and a stretch budget is the stretch budget is really for, say, if we can include something out of your wants or dreams list in the proposal, and it's going to push you past your comfortable limit, but not all the way to your stretch limit, then you probably want to hear about it. If we don't know, if we think it's, for example, if you tell me your comfortable budget is 100 grand and then your stretch budget is 110, it's a bit sort of, it doesn't quite work. They've got to be a little bit further apart. So you're comfortable at 100, your stretch is at 150. So if I can include something off the dream list for 110, 120, you want to entertain the idea, is what we find most people are after, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I guess if you don't know that, then you're not.
Yeah, if you don't know, yeah. That's right. And then, it needs to be. This needs to be. It's the most. The thing people are most cagey on, but it is the most important thing when you're planning a renovation and then talking to a builder. You need to be certain on how much, especially if you're going to go through a bank, which a lot of people do, because lots of people don't have bucket loads of money just sitting around. You really need to know what your lending capacity is, which one point we're going to chat about in a second. So you really need to know what your lending capacity is, and how much equity you've got in your home, so you can know for sure what you should be planning towards.
Yeah, and I think personally, for people going through it, even if, like, a lot of people don't like telling builders this, or even I've talked to draftsmen about this and designers as well, and they ask them the budget and they sort of look at them a little bit weird, or just they're a bit standoffish with it because they feel like they're going to get taken advantage of it. And I think there's probably a small few that ruin this for the building industry. There is a small few that probably do ruin that. It's like that one person when you go to the beach leaves the rubbish everywhere, and ruins it for everyone else.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
it's one of them things where I think you really need to be transparent and open and honest for this to work really well, because the factors, if you don't, even with yourself, be open and honest of how much you're wanting to spend, because if you're not, it can lead to disasters like not having plans. You get the plans drawn and you got to get all these changes made and it's cost you extra, or you find out that you've got these plans drawn, then all of a sudden you can't even go ahead with any of the renovations because you just haven't thought out the budget properly and then how much you're comfortable or what your lending capacity is. So I think, I get why people are a little bit standoffish with it, but I think it's really important. At least be honest with yourself if you're not comfortable with telling a builder or a designer, and but they're there to help you as well, because they'll sort of try and work within your budget and also try and make things happen so that you can, still get what you want, but throwing in considerations of how we can cut costs or, do this here to save money there, or vice versa, where, it's better than just having thrown a dart at no dartboard and got no goal, having a soccer goal and no goal post to shoot at. So, I think that's, I'm assuming you'd find that a little bit too.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're talking to the builder and you feel that you feel that the builder's there to help you, you will subconsciously give them the figure that you've been thinking about in your head. If you don't feel that they're there to help you, you're not like you physically and subconsciously won't give them the number. So if you don't do that, like my advice would be, that's not the builder for you. That's the builder that leaves that takes advantage of people. You need to find someone that you can trust, and someone that gets what you're after, gets your purpose, and gets your brainstorm, your needs, wants, and dreams.
Yeah.
And if you find that builder, that's the person that is going to want to help you, and you're going to be very open and transparent with them. So it's a very important factor in this whole thing, which is really important to do this exercise, follow these 6 steps before you go to speak to a builder, so you can get real on what your budget is and what your wants and dreams and needs are, so that you can it streamlines the process something like extremely well when you've got all this out on paper.
And going back to last week's little episode of this, where we're talking about the must-haves, the dreams, and the wants, and this is where the budget plays a massive part in their must-have needs and wants as well. So I was talking about prioritizing things. So we prioritize the most important, which was relating back to your purpose of what you really need to have, going from 1 to maybe 15 or however many things, or 20 or 30, however many things you brainstormed and listed down on the bit of paper. And then once you prioritize them, your budget is going to determine basically how many of these things you prioritize are going to fit. And the way this will work is that you basically put your budget on one page and you start sizing up all the things that are going to go in. And you maybe as a homeowner or someone looking at renovating, it's going to be hard for them to work out what's going to fit in that budget, which is sort of not really your job to work out. I guess that's the builder or the builder doing the job sort of to help you with that sort of stuff. But it's a really good way to make your budget and your wants list, the needs and the dream list sort of all fit into one. And it's amazing how much easier, and people, you do this on paper and you sort of watch their eyes light up, and they can sort of, instead of putting all of it in one big hit, just start putting it in slowly and working out what, all right, well, we're up to here, we're sort of coming close to our budget now. We need to either, do we change the way we do things, or is there something else we can change to try and get something else in, or is the budget going to have to move? And which is why I think it's really important to have, let whoever you're dealing with know them 2 budgets, because, it's an emotional investment you go through as well. So it's how you want to feel and be within that area as well. And if you can squeeze out something a little bit nice that you really like in, then I guess it's more of an investment than a transactional sale too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and having that, like you said, having that prioritized list, that your builder should be able to look at each one of those items and give a sort of a ballpark figure as to how much that item's going to cost, and then to be able to tally those up until you get close to the budget, and then those 8 or however many things it happens to be, that's what you base your design off. So
Yep.
if it's bedroom, walk-in robe, bathroom, deck, they're the 4 things that you think you can get into your budget, then that's what you start with your design. And then your builder the builder and your designer can design that, work out exactly how much it's going to cost. And if it comes in on budget, then you might be able to add in the next one, number 9, or whichever the next number comes in, you might be able to add that in.
Definitely.
So that is a really good way of working out what you can get for your money.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And not going, okay, I want 6 bathrooms because that's what I want.
Yeah.
And to put 6 bathrooms on the plan, and then all of a sudden it's 5 times the price.
Yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people, there is some people, small few people out there that would just say, they just want what they want, and then that's fine. But I think it's like anything. It's good to be able to sort of plan out and work out how much you're wanting to spend, because everyone has that figure in the back of their head that they don't want to go over. So, and it could be over to capitalizing, or then they might only be there for 10 years, but if you're considering being there for maybe 15 or 20 or however long, you're going sort of them that long. It really depends on what you want to do and how long you want to be there for. So
yeah, for sure. And then it boils back down to purpose.
Yeah,
you've really got to be clear on your purpose for it, and all the factors that are creating that purpose.
Yeah, definitely. And you can sort of see how these are all starting to line up with basically from step 1, 2 to 3. You sort of need to work out this first to be able to work out that, and it's going to give you a real clear pathway on understanding of what you need to do and what sort of things you need to put in place to work out what you're wanting, so you can communicate this clearly to a builder or a designer or whoever you're seeing. So I think there's
and the clearer you can be, the clearer the builder and the designer is going to be, and the better the outcome is going to be for everybody at the end.
Yeah, definitely.
The more as I said, the clearer you can be, the more likely that we're all going to be on the same page. And if you're all on the same page, the better outcome for everybody. Yeah,
definitely. And it's enjoyable.
Yeah, that's right. It's enjoyable for everybody as well. Everybody enjoys the experience, the builder, the designer, you as the client, your budget, your bank enjoys it because there's no blowouts.
Yeah,
your bottom line, your bank balance likes it because there's no blowouts and there's no surprises and that sort of stuff. So
yeah, definitely.
Well,
that's this week's one of basically step 3. So we're going to release another one next week. So it's going to be basically, we're going to be covering the timeline and topics and why you should consider some of these things, and what sort of timeframes you should be looking at when it is coming to a building process. So I'm Joel from Refined Space Construction, and I'm with Andrew Quadriel. I'll see you next week.
That's it for this week's episode of What Builders Don't Tell Their Clients, brought to you by Refined Space Constructions. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.